PaviElle French is an Emmy Award-winning interdisciplinary artist and educator. She is known for her powerhouse vocals and performing with an equally powerful six-piece band. She is a Jerome Hill Artist Fellow, a McKnight Artist Fellow, and has received a Sage Award for Dance and Choreography. She was a first-year Global Artists Initiative Artist in Residence at McPhail Center for the Arts, an American Composers Forum grant recipient for her classical composition, A Requiem for Zula, written in celebration of her mother's life. PaviElle's symphonies have been featured at both the San Francisco Conservatory of Music and New World Symphony in 2021. Under the direction of conductor Edwin Outwater and artistic director Michael Tilson Thomas. She has performed locally and nationally and has graced such stages as First Avenue, Ordway Center, and the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts through the Arts Across America series. And our panelists, Tish Jones is the founder and executive director of True Art Speaks. She is a poet, narrative strategist, cultural producer, and educator from St. Paul, Minnesota, with a deep and resounding love for Black people, arts and culture, youth development, and civic engagement. As a performance artist, her work has been shared in venues throughout the United States. Her writing can be found in We Are Meant to Rise, A Moment of Silence, the Minnesota Humanities Center's anthology entitled Blues Vision, African American Writing from Minnesota, and more. Laura Krider is an arts consultant and singer who lives for making creative projects happen through collaborative artist support and consulting. She geeks out on organization and systems and approaches all of her work through the frame of equity and access. Before Laura started her business, she spent 8 years working at the American Composers Forum, focusing on youth programs, artist services, and composer residencies. As a singer, she frequently works with living composers and performs with ensembles, including First Readings Project, Border Crossing, Lumina Women's Ensemble, and others. Laura has a Bachelor of Music and Vocal Music Education and a Master of Professional Studies in Arts and Cultural Leadership from the University of Minnesota. And Dr. Shekela Wanyama builds community through crafting innovative and meaningful choral experiences. She's passionate about building a 21st century practice of art music that is inclusive, engaging, honest, and brave. A freelance conductor, educator based in Minneapolis, Dr. Wanyama serves on the faculty of the University of Minnesota, Hamline University, and the music staff at Unity Church Unitarian. Recent conducting engagements have included programs with the Minnesota Chorale, singers in Accord and Vocal Point. She currently sings with Border Crossing and the Minnesota Chorale and has previously performed with choirs in the United States and Germany. And I did want to note, we are sad that Natalia Romero Arbeláez was supposed to join us as one of our panelists, but she was unfortunately unable to come, so we're sad that she can't make it. But it is my honor to now bring to the stage PaviElle and our wonderful panelists, Tish, Laura, and Shekela. And I'm going to hand it off to PaviElle.
Thank you for coming today. We really appreciate y'all being here. I just really wanted to share this video and this thing that I'm doing and that I did and the other things that I'm doing that come from this video with you all, because I feel like, number one, it's going to be my next 10 years of work. And this work was really built out of a response to not only the pandemic and the things that were happening, but the civil unrest based on the murder of Mr. George Floyd and Ms. Breonna Taylor. I was really moved to create work to not only just process our art and continue to do this cycle of processing our trauma through art and things, even though I think it's very important. This was done as a roadmap, for a lack of better terms, beginning a roadmap toward liberation and building conversations with people through this work, through these through the lyrics, through the music of it, with or without artists. It's just about building conversations to figure out ways to get free and to figure out all the things based on the blueprints that were left, specifically for Black people, the blueprints that were left by our ancestors and the things that they built before us, so that we can also have those things again and have things that we have ownership over and can build our freedom and our liberation from there. So I think how I got here and got to this piece, number one, it was through the Jerome Foundation and from funding from the Sands family. And I worked with Peter Myers, James Christensen, Laura Krider, Ashley Leonard, Shelley Mueller, in order to get it done. We just kind of went in there and shot it completely on instinct. I originally had an outline that I knew what I wanted to do. And so I just was like, bear with me, I'm not asking for any creative input, I'm just asking for you to point and shoot. And I just thought about how I wanted to see it. I thought about adding in all the things from my childhood, because not only did that's where my artistry started, but also what was happening in the 90s at that time. I watched all these Black people come back to center after the crack era and during the height of the crack era and rebuild, join efforts with each other, such as Selby Area Garden Enthusiasts, which my mom worked for, Summit University Weed and Seed, SUPC Council with Julie Cruz and Katie Royce. My mom's been, for many years was involved, and I watched her as well as my dad, who worked for Ramsey Action Programs, and you got to see him testifying for Senate back in '95. They were these types of people that were not going to sit and wait for folks to make differences for them. They were going to make the differences themselves and join efforts and join forces with their people to do so. So all of this stuff that you saw there was like an amalgamation of all the things that I was feeling in my heart and in my mind, just as a human being experiencing the things that we were experiencing, so I can relate to other people when I bring this curriculum into the classroom and I say, I'm going through the same things as you. So let's talk about this, right? And it was very vulnerable. I felt really like a kid. That's the best way that I can say it, is that I was very much within my childhood zone. I was in my inner child doing a lot of that. I was playing and enjoying myself and just letting all the things out. So sometimes it looks funny, it looks crazy, it looks like it looks, just because I was just going on pure instinct and artistic skill for this. So getting past all how that was made, the more it grew and the more that this work grows for me, I am very compelled to continue to share this work. And the first wave of it, I got to work it out as a pilot with Tish Jones and Desdemona, and work at True Art Speaks and work it with True Art Speaks. I worked it with Walker West Music Academy. I also worked it with Purple Playground, which is the Academy of Prince. And now I am working with Laura Krider and Shekela, Dr. Shekela Wanyama, and Natalia Romero, Arbeláez, and in building an actual fully fleshed out curriculum based on the work that I've done. So I guess I will open up my questions and stuff, because I'm moderating. This is a panel, and I'll stop rambling. And so I want to open up with my first question for everybody. Can you expound on the importance of using art as a vehicle for liberation work? And Tish, I'll start with you, if you don't mind.
Wow. Mid-sip. You deserve that. Peace, y'all. Thank you for coming out to support my sister and this beautiful work. Can I expound on the importance of using art as a vehicle for liberation?
Of course you can.
Yeah, So the lens through which I think about everything is through my experience as a Black person, right? And when folks ask me those types of questions, I'm like, doing this work, art, thinking about art as a vehicle for social transformation, art as a means towards our liberation, for me just means that I'm in the tradition of my ancestors. It means that I'm in the tradition of all of the artists that have come before me. So I look to history to answer that question. I think about how we got here, and then even that, right? Because just even, watching this, yeah. It's like, here is also can. Can is slang for trash. Trash is slang for not good. So thinking about the here in terms of Black people's, current socio-political and economic position, it once was way worse, right? And I think there's two ways that I think about art and the impact of art in our situation and in our liberation. One of the things that comes to mind that's like very much about the personal and the emotional is the scene from 12 Years a Slave when Solomon Northup actually starts to sing. And the whole film, I love the directing for that reason. The whole film, they were trying to get this brother to sing. They were, it was all about the brother not singing because he hadn't actually broken yet, spiritually and emotionally. And he hadn't actually tapped into the way that he was relating to other Black people in the position, right? And so once he starts to sing, there's some healing that happens with him, and there's some like, oh man, like there's a us factor, there's an Ubuntu factor, like I'm connected, right? So I think about that, and like part of liberation is like your own personal wellness. Part of liberation is, recognizing that your freedom, your peril, all of that is intricately connected to everyone around you, and that art and music and et cetera opens up this heart space that the intellectual, the Westocentric just cannot do, right? On a spiritual level. And then the other thing is, just the absolute intelligence, the messaging, whether it's like overt and over the head or if it's metaphoric and it speaks to you in this other way. And, us using braids as roadmaps to escape enslavement is an artistic practice towards liberation, right? And that's something that Black people have done, right? I think this piece that you all just watched is something that Black people do. So the importance of it for me, when I think about this work and why I've dedicated my life to this work, is we have to do this until we free us, period, right? And that's the tradition that I see PaviElle walking into. That's what I feel like my work is about. And I was having a conversation with my younger cousin the other day about the subconscious nature of the music that he listens to. And it was quite revelatory. So I think if we can make more art, and if we can promote and push and share more art that is about our liberation, we might just get free, So it's imperative. It's imperative is the short answer. It's imperative that we do this work because of the current circumstance that we're in. And I think that because, we might have some nice things, we might see someone in office that looks like us, there's an illusion that we are well. But we are not well statistically. And we're in the Minnesota History Center, specifically in Minnesota. We think about education, we still have the widest gap in the country for education between Black folks, Black children, and white children. So there's an illusion that we're well because we have shiny things. And I too like shiny things. I do, you know what I'm saying? Because it feels nice to look good and I like all the things that bring pleasure, but it doesn't mean that we're well. And I think that the art and the music breaks open a different kind of space. So we have to keep doing it, and we have to invite people into the praxis and into the process. This room should be full for the lyrics that were just shared, for the tears that we just witnessed, because there's something about vulnerability and a reality check. Like, you then have to carry that with you. You can't unsee or unfeel or unexperience that. That's what art does.
Thank you so much, Tish.
It's really something to say you have anything to add to what Professor Jones offers. But it did occur to me also, you know, from a diasporic perspective, there is so much power in art as social change because it's just how we are in the world. And so, like, Blackness is phenomenal. You can go somewhere you don't know anybody, you don't know nothing, you don't speak the same language, but you start moving your body and it's like, oh, that's my family right there. Like, those are my people. And in that moment, we are free, right? We are reminded that all of this is construction, right? All of this was designed to be oppressive, to be unfamiliar, to be, to damage, to contain, to restrain. But there's something about being amongst your people that is the experience of freedom and the understanding of the collective I, right? What's so beautiful about PaviElle's work and Tish's work is that they bring us all with them everywhere they go. And I, as a person living here, I just want to thank you both for that, because it's really powerful and beautiful to travel with you all. I also think that for those of us who are not Black, art as a practice of liberation is necessary because it is the space in which you learn to understand what liberation might feel like, what it might look like, and you learn the skill of envisioning a world beyond where you are right now. And that is present even as you are practicing the very basics of your art making. So as a musician, for me, it's practicing scales or, you know, just like the very first steps in your art practice. If they are done with a sense of humility and awareness and vulnerability about where we are in the world right now in this moment, that too is a practice of self-liberation, of self-care, and of kind of investing in a world that exists beyond what we see and experience in this moment. And finally, I just wanted to say, it is remarkable to me in this community how nearly 4 years after George Floyd, Minnesotan we still are. And I walk around every day with a broken heart because of this state and because of our failures as a community, our continued failures. And so what can I do but make art and try to find my way through all the failures around me?
Thank you, Dr. Shekela. I'm speechless. Thank y'all.
Yeah, it's incredible. Again, like, what could I possibly add? The only thing that's coming to mind for me is just from the observation of coming from Western classical music and loving seeing more of these Black stories being brought into the space. But what I love about PaviElle, what I love about your work and Tish, your work, is that it's not just trauma-based. Like, you're talking about what's next, and you're talking about what we can do with this truth that we have and how we hold on to it, how we can process it, because like you were saying, like, art making is so freaking vulnerable. So how can we all do that together and have this understanding of the present, but know what we want that blueprint to look like for the future, which is kind of what we're doing with that curriculum. So I'm just really excited for more and more art to exist that's not just rehashing trauma, which of course is valid and needs its space. And I'm just curious what's next. And I think that's exactly what you're doing.
Can I add one more thing, sis? Because to that point, I've been thinking a lot about James Baldwin and the, right? So if I can call the brother Jimmy. So, well, my man, he has this quote that I think about all the time when I, think about differences. He said, ignorance breeds apathy, right? And it was around how non-Black people, he was talking about white folk and Black folk because that was what was, prevalent at the time. But that ignorance breeds apathy. So white folk, for him, being completely ignorant of the black experience made them not care about the black experience, so they had no investment in making any changes, right? And I think that art, what I appreciate about art for social change and positive social transformation is that it can provide a window for non-black folk or whomever, whatever it is, you know, queer liberation, whatever it is. But it can provide a window for folk who have no idea what's happening to gain some sort of an understanding about what's happening, and then have some empathy to move from that place of apathy and ignorance to then do something and become inspired to make some sort of change. I also think that that is why it's important. And like there's this line for me around trauma and like, pardon my French, real shit, right? And I also think it's our work to figure out, so what we call it in the poetry world, I directed a youth poetry festival for 5 years, and we were like, this is trauma porn right now, these performances about the thing that don't have a solution in mind, that are just like rehashing this terrible situation over and over again, and people are applauding them because they feel guilty and sad, right? Which is awful. And what I'm always talking to people about with rap music and with the trauma porn that you find in youth poetry is those things are also really happening. The conditions that we live in, that's also like, it happened. This is a true story, you know what I mean? Like, so we have to change something, and that is also why I think the art is so important. Okay, now I'm really done.
Yes. Thank you. We got time. Okay, so thank y'all so much. So during my artist residency with the American Composer Forum, I got an opportunity to pilot the first round of the curriculum. And I want to open this up to Tish again, just to talk about, like, it's good. Just to talk about, like, your experience with the beginnings of the Sovereign curriculum, and the outcomes of the wonderful work that happened with, you know, the folks we worked with, and just not the bad stuff and the stuff about the organizational stuff, because it was everything that organizations do. It was discombobulated, it was a lot, and it was a lot of harm and a lot of good, and you know, it was for their first try, and I give it to them, but also there was a lot of stuff that proved the point of what I was doing happening at the same time. I just have to say that because it goes for the real shit part of it. It was like, as we were doing this for social change, there was a lot of things that were done that in itself caused harm. But outside of that, there was some really beautiful things that came through. So just fun and love and light and learning, and so many opportunities just for myself to sit down and listen to other people teach me. So I wanted to know your experience with like working with my curriculum and just the idea of it, and what you think about artists going out there and building some work and then using it possibly as a philosophy towards a whole new, you know, whole new subject matter of work.
So True Art Speaks had an amazing time with this work. The young people, the young adults, I should say, that work with PaviElle had an amazing time. I think, so, you know, we do exit surveys and things like that when folks participate in programs. And one of the biggest highlights and one of the things that I loved when you brought this opportunity to us is, you know, we're fed a certain thing and a certain image, right? We're talking about capitalism, we're talking about systemic racism, and et cetera, et cetera. So, like, you know, if you're considered weird if you do something outside of the box in a cultural sense, right? So what was a highlight for some of the young adults that we work with is like, wait, what? Wait, there's a black woman composer and librettist who's like around here and getting awarded? Like, wait, what? Oh, we get to work with this person? Like, what? So the exposure piece to like, you don't have to rap. And I love hip hop. I'm a hip hop head. Like the whole organization is a hip hop based organization. So I don't want anyone to confuse and think that I'm hating on that, because I'm definitely not. I got sneakers on. You know? So, I did say but the exposure piece was such a big deal, sis, for those young people to then be like, oh, okay, like Athena, right? Athena was like, I play the violin.
And you and me, bring it.
Yeah.
Bring it next week.
You know what I'm saying? And so we've known Athena for years. Athena was a member of our youth advisory board, and we were in deep relation. And that was the first time we learned that Athena played the violin, right? That's a big deal. So it's like also like creating space for people to be their full. That's what that opportunity did. It created a space for people to be their full selves. It also gave us some light bulb moments around like engagement and the breadth and depth of the questions we're asking, the ways we're getting to know folks, the variety of opportunities, right? Cross-sector collaborations. So that was absolutely amazing. Also, your style and approach. So the curriculum was great, and then you went above and beyond, right? And giving more time and more focus to folks to bring their full selves in. To your point, when you said bring it, and we're gonna figure out how to work this in as well, right? Letting them play with your music was amazing. You know, explaining your process to them so they could then explore if that is something that they too wanted to do. So I think, yeah, I mean, True Art Speaks, we had an absolutely amazing time. The young people received so much from the experience, and to your point, there was also a professional learning that happened because of the other situations. Right, and I think that also was a really big part of it's hard to talk about the experience without acknowledging that. Yeah. And I think as a facilitator and a person rolling out, you know, this curriculum in that way, working with that age group, right, because they understood what was happening, because they're adults, it was also, that colored a lot of their experience as well. And I think you modeled how to navigate this world as a Black woman professional to a bunch of young Black artists who are also, you know, looking to be Black artistic professionals in this community. So I think there was like the on-page scripted curriculum, and then there was a life curriculum that happened that, you know, is invaluable.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree with all of that. And I think one of the things also that I really, really loved about being able to do this with all three organizations with y'all, I really was trying to set a precedent as artists to understand that when you get funded, when you get big money, it doesn't always have to go to you, because it's about the connection. And that was what was so serious for me, was like, I need each organization to be able to get seed money out of this funding. I need the performers to be able to be paid stipends for this. I need their performances to be videotaped so that they can get grants, so that they can use this for reels. It's about thinking ahead as, one, what did I need when I was that age? And also getting people in the understanding that you can't just kind of do these one-offs with us and then just come in and do this and then use the reels for the next 5 years for your funding cycle. Because we understand, we're all artist professionals. We don't just do art, we do everything. Like, we work in professional environments, we do these real things, so we know how in-kind and all these grant donations and things go. So as you're getting the money, we want you to be thinking about not just funding artists to go make a posh project that's gonna make you a lot of money that you can bring people into your house, but it's also, how do you serve the people that you're asking to be a part of this? And how are you serving them in the future, or doing things that position them to come back and call you in the future and say, hey, I want to be an artist in residence like how PaviElle was, right? How can I connect with you? How can I connect these organizations together so I'm out of it now, but I know that they're connected and that there'll be more opportunities for their programming because these people know who you are. And that's like what I'm trying to do, like in going into my eldership and thinking about these things as an artist. How can I be a convener, and how can I build these constellations? So like a lot of this work is just, like you said, it is life curriculum, because it's like, you know, turning 40 this year, I'm not old yet, but I'm thinking about the next journey of my own artistry, because, you know, I've been the starving artist to the emerging artist to the artiste or whatever, you know, and like all these things that I don't care about. It's what I really care about is how am I leaving my legacy set up for people to continue to build off of even after I'm gone, and even while I'm still here. How can I share? Because that's a thing that is, I'm not blaming artists, and I'm not saying that we don't share, but we live with scarcity mindset sometimes, and this is all we're gonna get. We don't know where our next funding's from. But it was like, I have to take a risk here. I know y'all got money. How much are you willing to give? I have leverage. I have power I can leverage. Let's try it. So there's a lot of things in there that I'm trying to also teach other artists to do, because I want them to write their own sovereign curriculums. I want them to do the work that I'm doing. I don't want to hoard this or gatekeep this. I want them to go do this too, because this is the only way that we can intervene with our babies and with our people. But yeah, yeah. Okay, so since October 2023, I've been working with Laura and Shekela here, and Natalia, of course, to break ground on a full curriculum based on the lyrics and the music of Sovereign and Sovereign Suite. So I wanted to know if y'all could talk about your experience collaborating with me and us, and building the outline and building the programmatic work. And we're not like into the stuff of it. We're getting ready to be into the writing of the actual curriculum, but we've spent like this last 8-9 months here really outlining and building all the things and even stuff in the future. So how like, what has this been like doing something that's, we don't really have an example, you know? It's just y'all going with the scattered thoughts in my head, you know?
You're giving us plenty of material to work with, Pavi. I mean, in short, it's a pure joy. I mean, I love just an excuse to sit around a table with brilliant people that all believe in the same kind of work, this liberation work, and to think about how. You know, I'm coming more from like that project management, that like arts admin brain. So I love that I get to be in a position where I can help translate your vision and help think how it could be communicated across all these different generations. Because something that's really special about this is we're not just writing a curriculum for the middle schooler or the high schooler. Like, we're thinking about how could this work in any community-based setting, if it's a senior center, if it's a community center, you know, I mean, hospice, whatever it is. So I really love that we're talking about some like really universal, like kernel core human stuff, and then what's the vehicle for getting it out. So that's been really fun. So we kind of, after a lot of conversations with Pavi and, you know, just talking around the table, we kind of came up with these 3 buckets about, and they're kind of sequential in a way, this truth, like really naming what something is and just coming to terms with reality. And then this inner work, what do we each need to do ourselves to fully understand something, to empathize with something, to come to terms with that truth. And then we get into that work of liberation. I mean, obviously all of it is a part of that liberation work, but how can we then move forward and figure out what that blueprint is? So we kind of have these 3 buckets that we're working with. And one is kind of an I do, and then the next one is you do, and then we do. You know, so we're really trying to look at the whole system of community and how we can play with that. So I'm sure Shekela, you've got other things to say, but I would just say that it's really exciting at the point we're at now, as we have this whole outline and we've got our plan. I'm excited to like actually start writing the thing. So I'm like, that's kind of where we're at right now in our process, and I'm really excited about that. And yeah, I mean, I could just notate what Pavi says and then just be like, okay, let's do this. And it's so accessible, and I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling. But I would just say, too, that something that's really special about the curriculum is that I've seen many composer residencies and community residencies where a composer will go and present and perform, and it is meaningful, like just to share that art in itself. But Pavi has this ability to co-create with whoever else is in the room through all these different mediums and ways that can connect with different stripes of people that have these different passions. So it's literally a vehicle. It's not just sharing, because sharing is valuable in itself, but it's that co-creation that I think is going to be really special about what we're creating right now. Yeah.
Thank you, Laura.
I think also what is so wonderful as an educator and as someone who's worked, basically grade 6th grade all the way through college, from the educator lens, is we live in a time where education is defined by objectives first and standards first, and what's in your curriculum first, rather than who are your students, right? And what's important to them. And I, as a Black woman in education, that was always my perspective. And fortunately, in my area, which is choir, nobody really knows what I do, so they're just like, I don't know, it's fine, whatever. The kids seem happy, so. But actually, there's a lot of really intentional thought that goes into it, and there's a lot of ways in which I felt and continue to feel that I am like some crazy radical person out here talking about human beings in my classroom. And so what's really great about this curriculum is being able to bring our insights, our ways of being as people from historically marginalized backgrounds, and just making that, starting from there. This is what we know to be true. PaviElle, I'm 40 and it's not old, but it's not young anymore. I'm looking at these kids I'm like, ooh, these children, okay. So, with love, but y'all different. So, what are the skills? I'm gonna be here to celebrate the fact that you do not have so many of the filters and blinders and limited vision that I had to fight through, and that is a beautiful thing, but we still need to help you, right? We still need you to learn some skills about how to name what you're experiencing, be able to communicate your vision, how do you organize, and all of this. And all of that is embedded in arts practice and in arts education. And when it comes to working in community and seeing this curriculum, I guess, from the perspective of working with communities, it's for me, it feels like all the things that when I was younger, thought politics was, and then you learn it is the opposite of, in the sense that it's just really the basis of the curriculum is how do we get people to feel safe and comfortable enough in a space that they can be talking about the real shit, right? And get into it. And so the curriculum doesn't start with your objectives, it starts with, hey, maybe PaviElle needs to just spend a couple days on the ground meeting with community members, walking around their neighborhoods, meeting at the coffee shop they like to go to, and that's the beginning of the curriculum. It's not, or the residency or the experience. And I think if we all got real with ourselves, that's what we all want, right? We would love for a way of interacting with one another that starts with shared space and shared experiences that are just human.
That's beautiful. And I would just add, even the term curriculum has so many connotations to it. It could be a very formal structure, like you said, so objective based. So we had several conversations about, is that even the right term for this? And is this a tool chest? I mean, it's really a community residency, like an enrichment activity. So even the language we're using around this is important. And could help us or hinder us in who we want to bring this to. So that's something that we have to keep in mind. But I love that it really is starting with who's in the room, where are we at, and something, Pavi, that I like that you've talked about with this curriculum, if we want to call it that, is that you're learning too. Like this is multi-directional. This isn't a one direction, top-down teacher gives student lesson. We're thinking about what is a collection of resources and activities and community building that Pavi can like go into this tool chest and be like, now that I've spent some time with this community, I'm seeing, I think I'm understanding and I'm hearing where they're at, what could be an activity that we could do together. So I appreciate that it's not overly hierarchical and structured in that way. It's really modular and flexible because PaviElle, you and your art are flexible. So it needs to reflect how you approach communication and how you approach working with people.
Yeah, I was heavy on the choose your own adventure aspect of that because that's how I am. Like if I get in the room and I had something planned and I'm like, this ain't it for y'all and I'm not gonna run it on y'all because this ain't it. It's about the feeling. It's just like I'll perform, I'll call a song off and won't do it because it's not for the moment. Like you gotta read the room. And I wanted that to be added into that so that people understand also just with what Shekela was saying about meeting with the people and coming in, like the ultimate goal for this is for me to pilot it and do possibly 6 cities or 6 HBCUs or 6 different organizations, youth arts organizations, whatever we can find, whoever we can find that will actually be down to try this, just like True Art Speaks and Purple Playground in Walker West were, where they were absolutely down for me to come in and be like, okay, cool, and we'll support this. And be able to do that. Love y'all. Okay, yep. I had to talk to my babies, yep. But yes, to be able to come into these places and get a feel of what's going on, because even though we all have similar situations, I feel that there needs to be respect there as me coming into there and saying, I'm here, I'm not here to do these one-offs or perform or just show up and do some, pictures and all this other stuff. It's about me really getting into community and having real conversations. And once again, building these constellations of networks of Black people and people of color so that we can do things that we need to do and have a different level of communication. Because after this, I want to stay involved with these people. I want to open up a forum or have something in that way that we can all contribute to this, and everybody who has worked with me through this thing can contribute more art, can contribute more things to whatever, and this be an ongoing lifelong work. Like I see this as lifelong work. I'll do this until I die. So this is where it's going. My mom did community service work, and this is my community service work. And in the same way that at 43, she decided to go back to school and start doing things and taking things into her own hands, that's just where I'm at in life, just like her. And so last question, because I know we've got to keep it moving. In the vein of moving forward outside of the arts organizations in a sovereign way, what is the importance of funding independent arts educators and organizations that are doing highly valuable work with our young people and with our community? And this is for everybody. You want that?
I think it's critical. I think that in all the conversations that I'm a part of, ironically, I'm a part of a network that is called Constellations. Yeah, and our whole joint is how do we, as this larger collective, talk to the most prestigious arts-based, arts and culture funders in the country and have them put their pool here, a pool, not their full pool, but a pool of money here so that we can then get that to the smaller organizations who are also then working with the individual artists who don't have a fiscal sponsor or any sort of system around them, but those are the cats who are doing the most impactful work because they're the closest to the people.
That's right.
It's imperative. So it's like, I love that the question is asking both things. It's asking about the organizations that are doing the real, again, we're in the History Center, right? which is like the Walker Art Center of history, you know, when we're talking about art. And man, you know, I don't want to say nothing that I shouldn't say being filmed. So what I'll say is, so through constellations, I was able to identify someone here in Minnesota who was doing amazing work and just doing it, right? An artist, like, and that happens often, you know, whatever. So I'm like, man, who is doing amazing work in Minnesota right now, where through my relationships, I can bless this person and help this person continue to do the work that they were gonna do if they weren't doing it. So this was right after, not right after, but, you know, after Brother George Floyd was murdered. And Mankwe Ndosi was just doing walks through the cemetery of folk who had been murdered.
Say their names.
Say their names, right? Of folk who had been murdered due to state-sanctioned violence in whatever capacity. And this was just something that she was regularly doing for folk who needed it. And she was holding space for folk, whether that was song or whatever. And this is a processional that I used to host an open mic, so like whenever people are doing something every week with no money and no support, but it's so generous, and like there's this emotional labor, this physical labor, and all of this. So I was like, say less. Say less. I know exactly who to give that to, because there's not an institution holding up Mankwe Ndosi in that work.
That's right.
You know? And
We're
that
only holding Mankwe up in the artwork of that they can see on these posh, prestigious stages.
Yeah.
It's not about the hard work that artists are doing. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
No. You're right. You're 100%
Cause
right.
it's like,
You're
yeah, you know us,
right.
but you don't know us.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
So like that's why it's imperative, and that's why I like that you're, you know, so that's the individual, and then for like arts organizations, you know, if you're not a Walker Art Center, if you're not considered one of the prestigious centers, you don't have board. I wish I had a board member who was like, I will write you the check for $1 million this year. I wish I had a board member who would do that. My board is amazing. Let me say that. I'm not saying this because I don't love I love and respect each one of my board members. They are spectacular. And as this really small organization, which we are, we also don't get those kind of resources, but we are working with the people. We have run the longest open mic in the history of St. Paul, period, right? And the people that folk are now watching on TV have gone through that venue, you know? The people who are producing albums, they've gone through that venue. That was the start of their career. And we don't have an endowment, right? We don't have the large individual donor who's, you know, but these other institutions who have a history of causing harm do.
Listen.
And want to make change.
And they try to hire us, and then once we get in the room,
Harm is created.
And then
It's
we
not
out.
accountable. Then we're not accountable
I
for
cannot.
it.
I cannot.
Right?
And the rat race of
cannot.
us trying to sustain ourselves, and that's also how our organizations turn over as fast as they do.
That's right.
You know, like when we get into trying to be in philanthropy and keep up with, or, you know, be on par with, or imagine different, or whatever, when we buy into capitalism, right? Because it's also like the buy-in to this thing. So we didn't incorporate for years. We waited 7 years to even consider it because of all of what comes with that. And that wasn't the intention for our organization. So yeah, in summation, it is very important because the other thing that we're trying to do, like, we don't want to be the it person. We don't want to have the flyest person associated with True Art Speaks. We want to be able to support artists, right? So all of the staff, you know, every staff person with True Art Speaks is also a practitioner. We recognize that we lose people to the corporate world all the time because they don't actually, most of us can't sustain ourselves as artists, right? And that's where this myth of the starving artist thing comes from. And actually, like, a lot of artists are eating, they just have full-time jobs. So like the best graphic designers are working at Target. You know what I mean? And like, I mean, our boy, he just left Target. Our boy, he just, you know, he's amazing. Anyway, so I'm talking about Bobby Rogers, but it's like you're so talented and extremely whatever, and you have this full-time job at this corporation because that is where you can get healthcare benefits, sustained income, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep, that's me.
And
Right.
you get lost inside of those things because the smaller organizations that are doing the hard work that you really want to do, the hard work you really want to do, they don't have the capital, the financial capital to sustain you. You know what I'm saying? And we're trying so hard to do that work. So it's imperative that if you all, tell a friend, phone a friend, find a small organization in your community, donate to those organizations, whatever, yeah.
I also, yes.
Yes.
You better go.
Or to an artist, to an
Listen.
individual artist too, you know what I'm saying? Like, I also understand that we do these, you know, with an organization, you get a tax write-off or whatever. It's a small percentage. Unless you donate $1 million, it's a small percentage of a tax write-off. So if you feel like it, hand an artist a check.
Amen. Amen. Because you are saying to that person, I trust you. I trust you. And I'm also, in a way, not gonna lie, holding you accountable to representing our community. And I think that that is where art is going to be the most, I don't want to say powerful, I feel like that's the wrong word, but it's going to be the most transformative for that community, because it's saying it's for us, by us, you are including us, we have invested in you. Yeah.
Also, I see you, I value you, I benefit from
Amen.
you and your work,
Yes,
and et
yes.
cetera too. You know,
I'm
it's
learning
also,
from you. I'm all of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
You know?
And the other thing is, I want to say just real quick about large organizations. Whew. I mean, it's a whole thing. Okay, but they cannot support the work that needs to be done right now. They cannot, because they are operating from, when you get to be the size of a large organization, and I say this with appreciation for so many of our amazing organizations here in our state, when you get to that level, to stay at that level, to maintain your endowment, to turn the season over every year and get all the, you know, all of that, you necessarily are distancing yourself from what needs to happen right here, right now. And even if you try to be involved right here, right now, you are so preoccupied with keeping this like behemoth of an organization moving and running that you can't get right here, right now. But a smaller organization or an individual artist can show up immediately. Something happened on the block, let me go right now. They can drop everything, be there, be with the people, that is their community, that is their neighborhood, and you can, as the artist, envision the work that needs to happen right here, right now. And I come from, like Laura, the world of Western classical music, which is a whole nother situation. But I am finding that in my field constantly, even from an early age, where I was like, I'm gonna be a music teacher. It was like there was no place in this entire field that could imagine A, a person like me, and B, that could sustain a person like me. So I am over here in a field that is trying to eat me up every single day, fighting my way through. And so what's so beautiful, and I'm so grateful at this point in my life to have met PaviElle, is that she can say, this is the work I'm gonna do, and for the first time, I don't have to worry about any of it, right? It's me in a yellow dress dancing around and being full of joy, and that's part of my work, and I thank you for that, because there are so many times where I think, like, I cannot keep doing this, and then I met you and I was like, oh no, here we go. So.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I feel like so much of it does come down to this trust that we're talking about. I mean, I've been a part of so many grant panels and have been, you know, I until a few years ago, I've always been part of a big institution, or at least a medium-sized institution, and I saw, and I don't want to say I'm like anti-institutionalist, because there's a lot of good work that's happening and a lot of resources that would not be able to get out there without some of these vehicles. So like there is a place for it, and sometimes you just need to go off and do your thing and have people that trust like that you're going to do good with it, and that your vision is clear, and that you're getting the right people on board. I mean, something that I really admire about your work, PaviElle, is that you know how to work within the institutions to leverage what you need to be able to have that sovereignty to do your work, and to know like, no, this part's gonna be independent, but here's what I need from you. I need you to like give me some like really great footage here, or like, you know, like all of the stuff you were saying before. So I think there's this like dance that happens between how we can leverage these institutions who are doing some good work and some who are not, you know, doing the strongest work. And I just don't think we can always trust those institutions to be as close to people as we want them to be. And we're always trying to find people that can curate and people that can source where's the good art happening? Where are the voices of the queer community, the Black community, you know, like whatever it is, the disability justice community, whatever it is. And I think it's these small organizations, it's these individual artists. Like I know if we went around and I asked each of you to give me 5 names of people that are just doing like kick-ass work right now, like many organizations would have never heard of these people, and there's the next 20 years of our professional work, like done, yeah.
Absolutely. And also, I think a lot about grant funding, and I'm moving into that realm of my life where I am like trying to talk to organizations about funding artist grants and the tax holes that they put artists in behind it, whether it's not on purpose, but it is what it is. I know that grant organizations pay taxes on the money before they even gift these. And then the tax people are hitting the individual artists up as this is payment, when this is going on this $25,000 here is going on a project, right? It's not going in my pocket, right? And anything that goes in my pocket, I have to pay the taxes on it. So it's like essentially you're paying taxes on money twice, 3 times almost. And it's getting a lot of artists, elder artists, younger artists, all artists in holes that were beyond their belief, because you're giving them $125,000 at one time, or this grandiose amount of money. And that's also the next phase that I would like to work on as far as being funders and working with individuals. You've got to be able to figure out a better fiscal responsibility type of program, or a better, not just showing people how to maneuver, but also giving full understanding to people and full education to those folks, and working things out in the way that y'all give the money, and figuring out your loopholes, because $1 million organizations always have loopholes. They know these things. And so how can they figure that part out too, so that you're not harming community further with these things? Because yeah, it is a gift, but it's also a gift to somebody who makes $50,000 a year, and all of a sudden you've moved their tax bracket, you've moved all kinds of things, and we're not thinking fully about what we're doing here. So like all this work here is like opening it up and going, okay, this stuff is okay, but we could totally do better just overall on multiple fronts with organizations in funding artists, and being for real and seeing us and seeing the benefit of what it is that we're doing, and not just taking it and moving on to the next.
What I also love though about you is that you are for the people and with the people, right? So I appreciate philanthropy. I too appreciate institutions. I appreciate, you know, the ways that the systems do work for us. And I think that, so we have a program called Level Up, and one of the opportunities that program afforded artists who were interested, it was an opt-in program. You know, we let everybody know, whatever. But it was a financial literacy course on exactly what you're talking about. We brought in a financial advisor to let folks know. There was a 101, and there was a 201, and there was a 301. The 101 was, should you have a checking account or a savings account, right? And the 301 was, if you don't have an LLC, here's potentially what you're going to be taxed on if you're getting these grants. So that kind of education is important, but I don't know that And I don't know that other folk are making that kind of an investment in us. And we need to be making that kind of investment in us. And I also know that newer grantees don't yet know that it's something that they need to be concerned about. Exactly. Right? So what I appreciate about you is that you are in community informing folk often, and that's something that we need to continue to do. And that's also why I'm saying, like, individuals really matter and make a difference. Philanthropy is cool. It really is cool. But individuals who are like here, you know, those are the folks who can actually shift culture, honestly, you know, because philanthropy is going to be beholden to what it's beholden to until they have their own revolution. But human beings with excess, those are the cats who can make the shift happen without the consequences that you're speaking of.
Absolutely. Well, any last words, y'all, or anything? Otherwise, if not, I thank y'all so much for being here with me today, and I thank y'all for being here with us.
I think I'm supposed to ask if the audience has any questions.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
That's my fault.
I think I was supposed to ask that question.
I'm like, we done had a good conversation. I'm hungry.
So I'm asking, audience,
Yes.
do you all have any questions?
Thank you all so much just for your wisdom and for just sharing your lives and just your artistry. It means so much, and I'm just grateful to be in the room with people such as yourselves to learn and glean. And my question, which if this was already answered in the film, please forgive me, but PaviElle, what was your reason to name this piece Sovereign? Like, what was behind knowing what the definition of that word means? Like, what came to be for you that this needed to be labeled as sovereign?
I had been doing a lot of, like meditation and getting into learning that around like 2020 when the lockdown happened and all that. I immediately started like practicing. I started going to see Sharon Bridgeforth and Omi Oshun, Joniel Jones. And I also started seeing a therapist, right? So like I was doing all this stuff inside of me. And one day I was meditating and I was gonna name, so originally is based off the album Sovereign that I wrote in response, but the original name of it was Hard Truths. And I just kept meditating on it, and the ancestors were like, sovereign, right? And then I had to go look up sovereign, because I'm like, wait, that's a heavy word. You know, that carries a lot of weight, and what am I saying? But it was exactly what it is. I am my own person. I am sovereign. I am my own person without all these things, all these constructs and everything. I am my own. I am sovereignly me. I know myself. I stand fully in my body. I am accountable for all of my choices and the things that I do. I'm okay with my truth. And it just, I was like, yeah, this is this. And then I started thinking about sovereign land and started thinking about the understanding of stewardship and like all these different things. So like once I finished writing Sovereign, I got into like this real ethereal space where like the ancestors were really talking to me every day. And I was alone. I was by myself. I lived by myself. I had a real bad breakup, so I was by myself in that house every day. And they're just like, yeah, this is what you need to do. Write this down, write this down, write this down, write this down. So all that stuff that I was writing, you know, after I had created all of Sovereign and was in the studio, I was already like writing bits and pieces of the Sovereign Suite, and I just didn't know it yet. Then I got commissioned to do a piece with this residency, and I was like, it's gonna be this, because I was so sold that what was coming to me was the answers of the questions that I asked in Sovereign, right? So I had asked all these introspective questions about myself, my life, the world, us, and then these answers were just coming randomly through the months. And by maybe 9 months after I had recorded Sovereign, I started writing Sovereign Suite, like as the music and all that stuff. And both of those projects took 9 months. It was like I literally took the gestation time for birthing for both pieces. And that really means something to me, just because the ancestors were really speaking to me. And I tell people all the time, you can say I'm crazy or whatever, like, well, you can, however you feel, but I was really being spoken to write something. That piece, it's 1,137 bars. It's an hour and 15 minutes of music, and it's full libretto. Like, there's stuff from start to top. I just, sometimes I look back and I don't even understand how I created any of this stuff, because I was so being held. Like, my mom and my dad were like just holding me, you know, and just letting it pour. I've never had an experience like that before, and I was so sold on it. Like, yeah, they said it was sovereign. They said it was sovereign suite. This is the sovereign suite. This is the suite that expounds on the sovereignty that you talked about before.
I think that word is so evocative because we hear like freedom and we hear liberation all the time, and we all have these ideas of what the definition of each of those words is, but there's something about sovereignty that kind of makes you pause and be like, what does that actually mean to me? I mean, like, there's the foundation of all of the materials we're creating. It's like, what actually is sovereignty? And I think there's just something, I don't know, I'm so glad that that word was brought to you because it's really powerful.
Hi, y'all. I just wanted to thank y'all. I think that this was really cool, by the way. It's very inspiring to see people who are artists like me, especially to see them being successful in having venues, having full careers, and seeing people who look like me do that as well is even more powerful. Y'all are some beautiful ladies, you know. I really do appreciate this experience. I would love to watch the movie or documentary sometime. Like, if if it's like posted online or something or wherever I can find that, I would love to watch that. I just like really appreciated like hearing y'all talk about y'all experiences, y'all thoughts, the different things that you have faced as Black people and as women, but also as an artist myself, you know, poet / like art, like, you know, like the other kind. I've been like, how can I start doing that professionally, you know? I was just wondering, well, I have gone to a couple of the True Art Speaks open mics, actually, because I'm friends with Desdemona. I actually do believe I met Tish one time before. I mean, I think it was like last summer. I was just wondering, like, what opportunities are out there for folks like me that y'all know of and that could point me towards along my journey of trying to be an artist as like a career.
Do you follow True Art Speaks on social media?
I don't think I do.
Follow True Art Speaks on social media. One of the things that we make sure that we do is we share all of the opportunities for artists that come from folk who are mission aligned or like trusted strategic partners. Because on the one hand, as the executive director, I should say that, you know, unless it's something that we're offering, we don't fully co-sign the thing. We're just letting you know that the thing exists. So that's one. But two, we intentionally share all of those things for reasons just like this question that you're asking. Because really what there's like an information like tunnel thing that where things just don't get out. There are a ton of there are youth board opportunities right now, like where you can be on this youth board or this youth board, or if you want to do voiceover work, so we're sharing that stuff every single day. And if you're following us, it's on our story. It's never on our page if it's not something that we are offering, or if it's not something in partnership with someone that we're in strategic partnership with. Mm-hmm. We share opportunities quite literally every single day. So that's I would say step one. We also just, you know, and I don't even want to plug the organization, but sometimes we offer things too. That's what I'll say. But when we're not offering a thing, and if it's not like, you know, being self-indulgent in this moment, all types of stuff on our social media, specifically Instagram, that's the place where we share the most professional opportunities for artists. Also, our youth advisory. So, you good. Pavi wants me to tell you that we have a youth advisory board, which is true. I'm trying not to talk about True Art Speaks. I'm trying to like open
We're going to plug True Art Speaks. Yes, that's what we're going to do here.
So we have a youth advisory board also and we open up that advisory board to young adults between 16 and 24 years old, right? And those folk, it's a paid opportunity to also receive some professional development and to advise the organization on things that we do, right, that are youth serving, because that is an aspect of our work. So that's an opportunity that we have. We also do a ton of, throughout the year, there are various projects and opportunities. We also pay artists. So the open mic that you've come to, we pay every single artist that features at that open mic, right? Wow. So that's a paid opportunity. So the person who gets the long set, yeah, feel free to make a donation, y'all. I'm not even gonna lie.
Okay? Yes, please.
Because
TrueArtsSpeaks.com.
in real life, yes. Because in real life, we ran that open mic without a red cent for years. I don't think we got a red cent for that open mic until 2012. That was the first time that someone contributed financially to that open mic. And then we didn't get a red cent for that open mic, until maybe 2016. So I think we're in year 13. Right? And there are maybe 3 years that the open mic has actually been funded, but we have made a commitment, right? To the red cent, it's wishy-washy, right? Because we're like, from 2006 to 2013, all of the finances that we use came from y'all. Mm-hmm. And if you've never donated to True Art Speaks, the y'all means our people, right? Our people would be like, we really appreciate this work that you're doing, so here's, $5, $20, $100, $50, and it sustains us from 2006 to 2013. So to have an open mic that has been running for 13 years, don't quote me, 12 or 13 years, and has only been fully funded for 3 of those years, wow. But we pay an artist, and we do it every week, and it's literally been we do it 48 weeks out of every year. And every artist gets paid. And I'm not saying we're like, hey, baby, thank you for the 15 minutes. Here goes $2,000, because we don't have it like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's something to contribute to, you know what I mean? And that's part of the strategy of artistry. Mm-hmm. So anyway, there's some resources that we have as an organization to support artists. There are resources, I would say, again, I'm not endorsing anybody, but here's where you can go find things. Springboard for the Arts and I'm not endorsing people. That, yeah. I'm not endorsing people, but I'm also not endorsing people. So Springboard for the Arts has resources where you can go look for opportunities. Yeah, that's right. Pull the phone out, write it all down. Pull the phone out. Open up the notes app. You know what I'm saying? They have opportunities for artists. Juxtaposition Arts has opportunities for artists. Part of their whole tight. That's part of their shtick, is how to help young people think about professionalism and employment within the I would also say to mine MRAC, the Minnesota Regional Arts Council, because they do a fair job of supporting artists in terms of like the individual support grants that they have and things like that. And
they do a really good job with picking their board or not the board, but the panel, because I sat on the panel before for MRAC.
So I think MRAC is a really good space to find funding and resources, and I'm happy to share more, not taking up all this space. Springboard for the Arts.
I just want to say, in the spirit of James Baldwin and Nina Simone and those ancestors that walk with you guys, because I think the context you provide as artists for people in our community, especially the young folks, I think is just really immeasurable. And just sitting here listening, I can't wait to see the film. First of all, PaviElle, I'm always proud. When you said, you're 40, I was doing the calculation in terms of how long have I known her? Since she was 11.
Y'all don't know. Yeah, Raquette was my Girl Scout leader along with my mother for many years. Yes, Raquette introduced me to Mother Naima when Mother Naima was Sister Naima. So that's how long we go back, right? Yeah. 95, 94.
Oh my gosh.
Something to that extent.
Yeah. And I say all this though because you got something from the community at that time that feels like you've never let go of that, and it walks with you. Same with you, Tish, in terms of how you show up, the context that produced who you are seem to show up in your art. So it's not an individual practice or an individual almost experience that you're having. It's a shared experience, kind of like with marriage. You know, when people married in the Western world, they talk about, you know, the two people that get married, but it's really two families. And so with that, what I wanted to ask is, how do you, in your curriculum and in the work that you're doing with True Art Speak, how do you contextualize that to teach other young people so that they can see that that substance, it's not like you're special, although you're special. Y'all know y'all special, but that substance that you carry in you that was in the water as you was being brought up, has now kind of like, I don't know, it rests in your skin. And so how do you share that and teach that?
It's in everything I do. Like, I don't walk in a room without explaining my history. I don't walk in a room without being like, my name is PaviElle French, I'm from the Rondo community. I was raised by a village. I knew everyone in my neighborhood. I knew everybody in the 30-block radius of the Summit University neighborhood. My mother was tied in, my father was tied in. I've gone to school with the same 20 people, same 20 last names, same 20 families. We all gone to school with everybody, like, you know.
Who your mama?
Exactly. I'm still finding cousins, like, it's wild. But that is so ingrained because I cannot move in a way without that. And I think that, you know, you and Mom and Mother Naima really had a lot to do with that, because even in teaching me at 10 years old to pour libations with a group of other girls, you know, like teaching us Sankofa so early in the elements of the Kefren Society and things that you taught me, knowing myself, bringing me to Mother Atum, bringing me around all the different walks of Blackness so that I could see all of us, right? And not just what I seen in my neighborhood, but all of us and all the different things that we were doing. That's something that I have to pay forward, like just ingrained. It has to be. And it's a way to honor Mom and Dad. It's the way to honor y'all, but it's also a way to keep our traditions that are slowly dying. It's the only way I know how to bridge that gap.
I was thinking about this when PaviElle was saying earlier during the discussion that it's just how she is. It's just how she is. And so to me, there's this Black cultural praxis that is, there are like fragments of it that have been documented in different places or whatever, but the way that we are, right? So it was specifically when y'all were talking about how PaviElle creates and builds relationships, like, oh, you should just go into the community, you should be on the ground level. And it's like, it's those little things to me that I am trying to codify through, so like organizationally we have a manifesto. We also have like a cultural set of values. There's also a very specific cultural curriculum that folks have to engage with as a part of their onboarding into the organization, because the organization is Black run, Black led, Black feminist, period. And so to come into the space, there's some learning and unlearning that has to happen. And the part around the codification of it is because we tend to say things like that, and it seems radical, but it's like, I remember growing up and hearing, well, who's your mama? Literally. Like, you know, or when I would say, hey, can I go to such and such's house? And it would be like, well, who is their mama? You know, who are their people, right? And that part of how we build relationships is by breaking bread and different things. So I'm trying to codify what I actually just saw modeled for me as best practice, and embed that into the fabric of the organization and put it in language that folk who didn't have that experience can understand, because that's the way that their intelligences work, right? And so then I don't have to explain the way I is, right? Because that, like, the thing you're talking about that helps me understand that I am not a me, that's the thing that will get us free, right? And that's the thing that I think attracts people to, oh, you want to go for a walk? You want to, oh yeah, that you're building an actual relationship. And I think this industry, it can be transactional, right? So codifying those things is a way to make it, to remind folk that this is not a transactional process. That when we're talking about creating art for change, we're literally talking about that. I am always talking about my freedom. I am always talking about, you know, my nephew's right to exist. And that has to be embedded in the work for me. And I have to find the language to be able to explain that and teach that to other folk so that they are as invested in my nephew's right to live. Yeah.
And I just want to add on to that, as someone who didn't grow up in Rondo, but wished she had. I feel like I was on the other side of the river, like, I know there's a neighborhood over there, and I just need to, well, I can't drive yet, shoot. But as someone who's not from Rondo, I think we need to do a better job of understanding the beauty that is Rondo. That is Rondo, and that is the history of Rondo. And there are other areas in, like, I'm from over south where, you know, it was black for a minute, but, you know. So we just need to do a better job, because Rondo is so beautiful and has so much to offer us. And particularly, it's all in the news and it's all about numbers and the freeway and the da-da-da. Like, that's not the real story, right?
Ooh,
that's not the real story.
I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Ooh, you pushed that through. Thank y'all. Is there any other questions?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, this
Hi,
was
Dr.
I've been waiting to say hi to you. What's up? Yeah. Hey. Hey. Miss you.
You recognize my voice, right?
Yeah. I knew it was you the whole time. I was like, well, I can't wait to go see her.
Just first, thank you so much for this incredible offering. Such a gift, both your artistic creation and the panel discussion. And just sitting here thinking through the reverence you've offered to the ancestors, those whose shoulders we stand on, as well as what does it really mean to engage in liberatory work. And what was running through my mind over and over again was the words of one of our ancestors, the great Tony Cade Bambara, who said, the role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible. And I think you're on your way to making that happen. So thank you.
Michelle, thank you. Thank you.
That is an excellent way to end the program. Thank you all for coming out today. I want to welcome you, invite you across the way into the reception room where we're going to celebrate with PaviElle and our panelists. We have eclairs from Mark Hugh Patisserie, coffee, tea, water. But I wanted to just say real quick, PaviElleFrench.com/sovereign-suite is where you will find the film and more information. So check that out. Check out True Art Speaks. We did record the panel discussion, and so we'll share the recording with you, PaviElle, once that's processed, and it'll also be on the MNHS YouTube channel as well. So thank you again for coming out, and then please join us across the hall, across the lobby. So thank you all.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, of course. Yes,
I just
please.
want to drop my handles just in case people want to take them. I'm at PaviElle Music, PaviElle_music, and then www.PaviEllefrench.com, PaviElle French. Anybody else got handles? You got handles.
I just want to say that True Art Speaks is
Yes.
TRU Arts.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
yep, because we're
You
going
the
to do
one.
that, yes, right now. Yep, True Art Speaks, so TRUARTSBEAKS. I'm like trying to get it all out. True Art Speaks is .org. Yep, and then they're also on Instagram. You can just look up True Art Speaks, Facebook also. Yes, and make sure that you throw in some funds to True Art Speaks way, because Tish is doing unbelievable,
That's the real work right there.
divine work. Divine work.
It's beautiful.
We all are. We all are. I see
Yes.
comrades. So give thanks.
Thanks, y'all. Have a beautiful day.
Peace.